This is Kim Meyer, host of Choose to Rise. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media.
Hi, this is Peggy Rojas, host of Viviendo una Vida en Balance here at Public House Media. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media. Once you're done with this episode, I hope you can come back and check my show, Viviendo una Vida en Balance, where we talk about life hacks to live a life in balance. And this show's in Spanish. A new show comes out every Monday, so don't forget to subscribe on iTunes and share with your friends. Again, thank you for checking out the following broadcast in Public House Media.
How's it going, everybody?
Hey guys!
Coffee with Keith
and Katie on Public House Media.
And we are thrilled to be coming at you live once again.
But not from our North Side apartment.
Not from our Chicago North Side apartment. Oh, there you go. She sneezes.
Excuse me.
She's sneezing a bunch before we press record. Like, are you okay now? She said, yeah, I'm okay. Not
Now
okay.
here I go with the sneezing.
Well, this is our first show of 2019. It seems dark in here, right?
It does. I don't
You know
know
what?
what's
Let me turn on another light. I don't know what's going on there.
Well, it got brighter when you went away.
Did it get brighter as I went away?
Now it's like, whoa, I'm super white. Oh, and now you're back and I bet it's your white shirt.
But was my white shirt throwing off the white balance?
I think so.
You know what? Let me put on a darker shirt.
Do it. I'm gonna keep sneezing. Excuse me. Well, this is an interesting start to 2019 for Coffee with Keith and Katie.
Keep talking.
I have allergies. Keith,
I have a white shirt on.
Keith has a white shirt. It's a whole thing, guys. The whole thing. See ya.
All right.
Yeah.
Got a hoodie on.
Yeah, it's better.
It works out. It works out a little better. I'm gonna try to turn that light off now.
Okay.
That's,
Yeah,
that's
the
better.
layering.
That's better, isn't it? All right. Coffee with Keith and Katie, Public House Media, 2019. New year, new place, same old show. We have our coffee with us. Hope you have your coffee with you. Again, coming at you from our
Pleasant Prairie.
Pleasant Prairie, Wisconsin apartment. Katie and I moved.
We moved.
We no longer live in Chicago. Well, we still currently have the other apartment until the end of the month, but we no longer.
All our stuff is here.
All of our stuff is here. Apartment in Chicago. The backdrop of what the show has always usually been. Completely empty. It's over there. We moved to Pleasant Prairie because Katie got a job in Wisconsin, and I work from home, so I can do my job from anywhere. Mm-hmm. And so we moved for Katie's job. We've been here for a week.
Mm-hmm.
1 week. 1 week today.
1 week.
Had some help from some friends.
Mm-hmm.
Moved us out of our apartment last Sunday, the 6th, and last Monday, the 7th. Moved out, and we moved in. And Katie was working throughout the entire week, so as Katie was working, I was put in charge of getting our apartment ready.
And you can see that he's already got the pictures up.
Got the pictures up, got all that good stuff
They
up.
look nice.
So when Katie was off at work, it was that was my responsibility. So it took a whole week with a little bit of travel in between there, but we got the place ready to go. So eating some chocolate right now.
Looks great. We both have Hershey's.
We both have Hershey chocolate. Just imagine, we both have Hershey chocolate. This show brought to you by
Hershey's.
Hershey's. Only chocolate that I'll eat plain. I'll just eat plain. I like chocolate. I like all types of chocolate. But I don't like to eat just chunks of chocolate. But I love eating Hershey's chunk of chocolate. So,
Obviously
this
not
show is
one.
brought to you by Hershey's.
Oh, and here's Mr. Fuzzy Face.
Mr. Fuzzy
For
Face.
the first time in 2019.
Oh my goodness. There he was.
There we go.
So it's been...
I need a Kleenex.
Katie needs a Kleenex. This whole show is getting off to a great start.
Yeah. It's the normal show.
Right, so we're back to doing the show live. If you guys have been paying attention, you're gonna blow your nose too right on the air. We've been doing the show. It's been a produced show for really September through December, really, until I got back from being on the road consistently. And now we're back to doing live shows because we have the Monday 7 p.m. time slot. We thought that would be a good time to do the show. So we're back. We're doing it live. Back how it should be. We always have a lot more fun when it's live. And it takes a lot more work off of my plate because I was producing and editing and doing all that stuff for the show. So it takes
Even
a
a
little bit of work
10-minute
off
show
my
takes a lot of work.
It does. It takes a long time. So 2019, new place. And with a new place comes so many different things.
Yep.
Life completely changes.
Oh, yeah.
Just moving from one apartment to the next apartment, no matter where you move to, life is completely different. But we moved from a city of
About 3 million.
3.5 million to a city of what this greater Pleasant Prairie, Kenosha area,
I think
150,000. So significant decrease in population. When we moved to Chicago, we moved from Katie's hometown of Pittsville, Wisconsin. And that was a town of about 900 to be generous.
Yes.
And 900 generously to 9 million. That was a huge culture shock. Now here comes Mr. Fuzzy Face again. And so we learned very quickly in Chicago, life in Chicago is not like life in really any place in Wisconsin. You can get your fuzzy butt out of there. Go sit down. In Wisconsin, we both grew up in small towns. I grew up in a town called Kaukauna, Wisconsin.
Yeah, small town. How many people were in your town?
When I grew up there, about 12,000.
Yes.
Well, 12,000 compared to 900, fine. But everybody had a car because you had to drive everywhere because there were not, there's not a plethora of public transportation. There was not a bus stop on every corner. There was not a train stop every half mile. Nope. So when we moved to Chicago, it was, they were like, all right.
It was a huge loss of freedom.
Right. You find a place to park the car in Chicago, and unless you have to go to the grocery store or do something that absolutely requires a car, you park your car, you leave your car there because you don't want to have to worry about trying to find another parking spot. You don't want to worry about traffic. You just take the train everywhere you need to go. Really, we probably didn't need a car other than coming back up to Wisconsin to see family and going grocery shopping. That's what we only ever used it for a while there.
Yep.
Now,
we use it all the time. All the time.
Now just the car. This apartment that we're in, obviously Pleasant Prairie is not Chicago, so we have a parking garage and we have an outdoor. Melissa, that's you.
Melissa.
Thank you for joining us.
Good to see
Melissa
you.
always watches the show, so she's been a great supporter of the show, so thank you so much for watching the show. We're talking about the difference between Pleasant Prairie and Chicago. You're just talking about parking. In Chicago, our apartment obviously had no parking spot. It was street parking.
Yeah.
Now here we have a parking garage underneath the building.
We never have to go outside.
Reserved parking spot.
Yep.
Which is completely crazy for us. And we have a parking spot outside too, so we have 2 parking spots. So we went from 0 parking spots. Sometimes if you get back later in the day in Chicago, you might have to park 3 blocks away from your apartment. And if it's raining and if it's snowy, I drop Katie off at the apartment and then I still have to walk. That's how it went. So just parking is crazy. There's a little community cart in the parking garage where if you have a lot of stuff, they trust you to take the cart and to return the cart. Wouldn't that have been great? Just having a cart on every corner in Chicago so you wouldn't have to carry your groceries back to your apartment, that would have been crazy. So really the car aspect of this whole move has been, at least for me right now, I mean, we've only been here a week, but for me right now, it's been the biggest part.
Yeah.
Mr. Fuzzy
It's
Face,
huge.
get out of there. So, what else? What else is different
So
that's
you
kind
went,
of
you
caught
went
us for?
grocery shopping today, and you were telling me about the cheese aisle.
Well, it's Wisconsin, and the big thing that my friends in Chicago made a point to say when I moved back. You know, cheese curds and spotted cow. You know, of course, Wisconsin is known for cheese, but I was amazed. Went grocery shopping today. I was amazed. I walked down the food aisle, and you know, you have the swing open, you know, doors in the refrigeration area, like 7 straight doors, just devoted just to cheese. It's not that I've never been grocery shopping in Wisconsin since we moved to Chicago 8 years ago, but it was incredible to see so many different types of cheese, and the prices. Get like just a small block of cheese in Chicago is like $7.50.
Yep.
Here, $3. It is nuts.
We have a 2-bedroom apartment,
2-bedroom.
the biggest apartment we've ever had,
Yep.
because we're not renting it in.
Because we're not renting it in Chicago.
Yeah.
Everything's cheaper up here. Now, it sounds like we're putting down Chicago. We're not. Absolutely love Chicago.
Love it.
But the culture shock of actually living in a place, setting down some roots here, compared to living in Chicago. We've never been a married couple and lived outside of Chicago. We went to college, took a year, earned a little bit of money, got married, moved straight to Chicago.
Yep.
So we've never been married and not lived full time in Chicago.
We've lived our entire married life in Chicago.
We've lived our entire married life in Chicago. So now, being a couple, having a place somewhere other than a huge city is, again, it's different.
It boggles the mind.
Right, and every place has its pluses and minuses. The cool thing about it is that you get to take your car everywhere. The downside to it is that you have to take your car everywhere. Because we live, if you look outside, there are a bunch of trees around us. There's not a Popeye's chicken, a Starbucks, and a couple of other restaurants in one direction. And there's what was in the other direction. There was a liquor store, Dunkin' Donuts, a couple of other nice restaurants in the other direction. Everything was a 5 to 10 minute walk. In Chicago, you could walk 5 to 10 minutes, get anything you could possibly want. The cool thing about here is that it's a 5 to 10 minute drive, but you have to drive. So.
Yeah, you could be across the street from something and you have to drive because there are no sidewalks.
No sidewalks.
No sidewalks, no crosswalks. You have to drive everywhere.
Right. So unless you want to walk on the side of the road, but who wants to do that?
It's
really,
dangerous.
Honestly. So,
and everyone has a car. Like we said, we have 2 parking spaces because everybody
has a car.
A 2-person family has 2 cars.
Exactly. There's like a car per person.
Yeah.
In a family, if you're old enough to drive, at least.
Yeah.
So yeah, and this is all the things that we knew before, obviously, because we grew up in small town Wisconsin. But moving back to small town Wisconsin. From one of the largest cities in the country, and probably top 10 in the world, it's different. So,
it is. It's been fun though. I'm happy because I was spending about 3 hours in the car every day.
Katie got her new job.
Yep.
Right.
I put about 500 miles on the car every week. So that's tiring.
I mean, I drive a lot, but that's a lot of driving.
It's a lot of
driving.
We did that for 2 months. When I first got the job, we had talked about possibly moving. We'd see how the commute was before, but we pretty much knew that once I got it, we'd move eventually. And so here we are.
Yeah, but you held strong for 2 months. That was pretty good. Waking up at 5.
Yep.
Getting back at 7.
Yep.
Ooh, That's tough.
It was a rough time.
I wouldn't have wanted to deal with that. But
Yep.
Thank you for dealing with it.
You're welcome.
So, that's really the bulk of our show, just talking about the difference between Chicago and
another
and
thing.
here. What's
No, everyone goes to sleep. I was at Target for something, and it was like 10 o'clock at night, and I came out of the store, and Target closed at 10 o'clock. I came out of the store, and the parking lot was empty. There was no one there. Driving at night, like if we're out, like if we go to Starbucks 8 or 9 o'clock, there's no one out. Everyone has gone home and gone to bed.
That's very true.
It's like when we first moved to Chicago, we thought we'd be safe going shopping during the Bears game because who would be out? You know, everyone's at home watching the Bears. No, that's just a Packer fan thing.
But no, but even if you have 1 million people in Chicago watching the Bears game, you still have 2.5 million people to account for.
Well, 2.5 something million people should also be watching the Bears game. That's why Bears fans are terrible fans. That's a whole other show.
I think Bears fans are just fine when it comes to the Bears.
They're awful. They're just awful.
Well, not as good as Packer fans.
Should be ashamed of yourselves.
We can say that now. Funny, we made the joke when we moved to Chicago. It was right after the Packers had won the Super Bowl, and that was the beginning of the Packers, kind of reign of the NFC North, where, they've made the play, except for the last 2 seasons, they've made the playoffs every single year. We were in Chicago, won the division many of those years. And so the Packers were always arguably the best team in the division most of the time, and one of the best teams in the NFC. Now,
and the Bears were always the worst.
And the Bears weren't doing so well. Now, we had one football season. The Bears were good. The Packers were not.
Yes.
Packers were bad. And hey, now we're back in Wisconsin. So we were as Packer fans, we were in Chicago for just the right amount of time.
Yes.
Because we might be heading into some rough years now as Packer fans, but we'll see. So
now I'm depressed.
But the great thing about it is that now we have normal, for us, Wisconsin television stations, so the Packer game is the priority every week now, so don't have to worry about going to a bar or somewhere else to see the Packer game, because the Packer game will always be the game on TV. So thumbs up for that as well.
Yay!
But it sounds like I think the idea, I think the show has kind of sounded like Wisconsin is so great and Chicago sucks, and don't mean that at all, because we didn't want to leave. We really didn't want to leave Chicago.
No.
It's just kind of how it turned out. But there are obviously pluses and minuses to everywhere you live, and
It's
for the
just
first,
some things we've noticed for the first.
yeah, for some things we noticed, some observations. I'm sure that we'll share more observations as the shows continue during these next weeks and months and maybe years ahead.
Who knows?
Who knows?
Next year we'll move to Croatia.
The lighting seems to be a bit odd here, so we might play around with the with where we're going to be filming Coffee with Keith and Katie every week here. We have a little bit of a balcony, so when the weather gets better, we might be doing some shows outside as well. Yay, outside shows! That was always a big thing in school, right? When you still had class, but you had class outside.
Yes! Even in college, when we had class outside, it was amazing!
Alternative learning environment. That's what one of my professors in college said. Basically, when we had when he's like, we're not going to have class this week or whatever, he's like, next week, alternative learning environment. So we'll see you in 2 weeks. It's like, great. Yeah.
That's pretty good.
But that's pretty much it for this week's show of Coffee with Keith and Katie. Again, we're doing it live every Monday.
Monday nights at 7 o'clock.
p.m. Mondays.
7 p.m.
Right here on Public House Media.
Right here.
Check it out. check out Public House Media, check out the Coffee with Keith and Katie Facebook page and our other social media channels to see any updates. We may be releasing some Purdue shows. We're closer to David now.
We are. We may meet David in person.
David lives in Milwaukee. We're only about a 40-minute drive from Milwaukee, and we're still only a 50-minute drive from Chicago.
Yeah, it's not
So we think we're getting the best of both worlds here because we're still a really quick drive into Chicago whenever we want to go see a Cubs game, or whatever we want to do. Can get to Chicago in an hour, and we can get to Milwaukee in 40 minutes. So we're essentially in the suburb between one major city and one pretty big city as well. Mm-hmm. So we're happy with where we're at so far, and hopefully we continue to be happy.
Yeah.
But hey, first week in the bag, we're looking good.
Doing well.
So everybody, thank you so much for joining us on Coffee with Keith
And Katie. I just swallow. On Public House Media.
Everybody, we will see you next week, and we will share more adventures with you from Wisconsin, and as we always do, from our just normal, crazy lives.
We'll just ramble on like we do.
We'll just ramble. We'll just do whatever.
We'll just...
Yeah. Everybody have a great week, and we'll see you later.
Bye, guys.